Rorschach's Journal, October 12th, 1985.
Watchmen. Today is March 6, 2019, which marks the 10th anniversary of Zack Snyder's adaptation of Alan Moore's iconic graphic novel, Watchmen. Ever since its release, the film has been met with polarizing reviews. Some, like Roger Ebert, praised it as a compelling, visceral film, while others, like Noah Berlansky, panned the film, calling it oddly hollow and disjointed. Now that it's been a decade since its theatrical release, I'd like to share my thoughts and opinions on Zack Snyder's Watchmen, a film that I hold dear and close to my heart. I'm CyberDroid, and this is Solo Theater.
When you go into something with this anticipation that it's just a Hollywood superhero movie, which is what a lot of people will think because they don't know, right? They see some guys fighting, and then when you see the film, you actually have this experience of it, being taken apart. That those archetypes, those mythological shapes, whether they be Batman or Superman or any of superheroes, and how they're just sort of turned around.
Even after 10 years, this film hasn't aged a bit. This is a masterpiece superhero film. With Snyder in the director's chair, you know it's going to be a visually stunning film. The special effects in the film were pioneering at the time and are still extremely impressive. Sure, Dr. Manhattan would look way more photorealistic now, thanks to films like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and Avatar, which came out in the same year as Watchmen did. But even now, Dr. Manhattan never feels artificial. He always seems real, tangible, like he's actually standing there with Silk Spectre and Ozymandias. And well, that's because he was on set.
They paint little dots on my face every day that are also tracking markers.
A lot of it just comes from how fantastic you think this creature is, or this character is in the movie, and you realize that he's a fully CG character that's going to be informed by Billy's performance.
This, on a technical level, is a work of art. Every shot is shot like a painting. You can take any shot on Watchmen and it's just breathtaking. The blocking, the framing, the angles, everything about Zack Snyder's vision for this dark, gritty, violent world is beautiful, poetically giving the film a sense of irony, to beauty and violence and the beauty and destruction.
I think we both had, just incredible trust and faith in Zack. Just what he was doing, his sensibilities. He was so behind, he was such a fanboy of Watchmen, and it was clear that we were going to make Watchmen. And that really excited me once I started to understand what Watchmen is. Because, a lot of this stuff does kind of get watered down, for when they get turned into the movies. They kind of try to do that lowest common denominator. And, I think this flick has all of that stuff that's really exciting about an action comic book movie, but it throws in some smarts, I think it's more intelligent. It's more thought-provoking. It's a deeper and richer experience. And I think when you do that, and I think Zack nailed it, I think you care more. And when you care, everything is just much more intense.
Zack Snyder's attention to detail is truly something special. Every time you watch Watchmen, you'll find something new, something you missed, something you haven't seen, a little detail, a hint, an Easter egg. In many ways, he was the perfect person to direct this adaptation. Alan Moore's impossible-to-adapt graphic novel is translated beautifully in a contained film that still manages to capture the spirit of the graphic novel while adding something new. Watchmen actually might be more poignant now than it ever was 10 years ago. With the dawn of superheroes in full force, but with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the DC Extended Universe, Watchmen is the perfect counterpiece to watch if you want to deconstruct what superhero films mean to 21st century audiences. Like how Alan Moore satirized comic books of his generation, Zack Snyder's Watchmen does the same with modern-day superheroes. The graphic violence, the nudity, themes concerning the American dream, and how America perceives superheroes is all part of his analysis and deconstruction on said tropes in modern cinema, but specifically in superhero films. How many shots of superheroes standing heroically in front of an American flag have we seen? But in Watchmen is used to convey a much darker meaning, like in this very poignant scene here.
What happened to the American dream? What happened to the American dream? It came true. You're looking at it.
Much like Alan Moore used his platform to critique comic books, Zack Snyder is using his to critique comic book films.
Alan punishes you a little bit for liking comic book violence, Part of it is that, you understand if you're a comic book fan or a fan of comic book movies, I think if you haven't read a comic book, it's okay to see Watchmen, because if you've seen a comic book film or know that comic books exist, you're kind of prepared for it. But it's that whole thing, if he lures you into a scenario where in a normal comic book film, or you know, the violence you would get would be really sort of morally clear, you know, where there's a little bit, you get a little bit of punishment for assuming that everything's going to be like, you know, glossed over and clean and easy to understand. You know, I think that's where the movie kind of comes at you a little bit.
Maybe if Watchmen was released now, it might have gotten a lot more critical acclaim from critics and audiences for being a different take on the genre. Zack Snyder is not a director that adheres to formulas. If he was, perhaps his films would be more universally loved. He's a man who loves to experiment, break new grounds. He's a director who's always never found his footing with critics and audiences because his style is so polarizing, and I think that's actually the mark of a true artist. Kyle Smith of the New York Post said that director Zack Snyder's cerebral, scintillating follow-up to 300 seems, to even a weary filmgoer's eyes, as fresh and magnificent in sound and vision as 2001. Watchmen is quickly becoming a cult classic, one that people are slowly opening up to over time. Now that a whole decade has passed, I think it's time to revisit Watchmen and its themes. This is a beautifully crafted film that honestly deserves a lot more credit than it gets. When we talk about the greatest superhero films of all time, like Infinity War, Logan, Dark Knight, I'd like to hear more people say as their answer, Zack Snyder's Watchmen. And now, on that positive note, I'm gonna go kill a comedian and throw him out of a window in honor of this movie. Huh? Wait, I'm not supposed to do that? Oh.